Hello coin lovers! Welcome back to Old Charles, the place where coins come alive with history and hidden value. If you've got a 1996 Canada 1-cent coin lying around, this video is just for you. Today, we're diving into the story, the design, the condition, and the collector's value of this little copper beauty. Is it worth only a cent, or could it be worth a whole lot more? Let's find out. The Canadian 1-cent coin, commonly known as the penny, has a long history. First introduced in 1858, it was part of everyday Canadian currency for more than 150 years before it was officially discontinued in 2012. The 1996 penny was among the later issues of the classic copper-plated coin and remains very common, but that doesn't mean it holds no value. Let's take a closer look at the design of the 1996 Canadian penny. On the obverse, you'll find the iconic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This version of her portrait was designed by Dora de Pedery-Hunt and was used from 1990 to 2003. Her Majesty is shown wearing a necklace and earrings, an elegant royal touch. On the reverse side, you'll see the image of two maple leaves on a twig, designed by G.E. Kruger-Gray. This design has been a staple of Canadian pennies since 1937. And just below the leaf design, you'll find the year 1996, along with the word Canada and the coin's denomination 1 cent. The 1996 penny is made of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc, and it weighs 2.35 grams. In 1996, over 672 million 1-cent coins were produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, which means this coin is not rare in circulation. These coins were minted in Ottawa, and most were widely distributed throughout Canada. So, with such a high mintage, does this coin have any value today? Let's talk about that next. Like most coins, the condition of your 1996 Canadian penny is the biggest factor in determining its value. A coin in circulated condition, with visible wear and tear, is typically worth face value. 1 cent. A coin in uncirculated condition, especially one that has been kept in a coin flip or album, might fetch anywhere from 10 cents to 50 cents, depending on the buyer. A mint state coin graded MS-65 or higher by a professional grading service like ICCS or PCGS can be worth $1 to $5 CAD, and sometimes a bit more if it has a deep luster or strong strike. Tip for collectors: look for coins with full details in the maple leaves and no scratches or nicks on the Queen's portrait. Even common coins can become valuable if they have errors. Some 1996 Canada 1-cent coins have been found with die cracks, off-center strikes, or double dies. These error coins can sell for anywhere from $5 to $50 or more, depending on the type and severity of the error. Next time you're looking through your change or coin jar, inspect your 1996 penny carefully. You never know what gem you might be holding. As of 2025, here's a breakdown of the current market value for the 1996 Canadian 1-cent coin. Circulated condition $0.01, face value. Uncirculated condition $0.10 to $0.50 mint state, MS-65 and up. $1 to $5 error coins $5 to $50. While it's not a high-value coin in general, it's still a cool piece of Canadian history to hold on to, or trade among collectors. If your 1996 penny is in great shape or has an error, it's definitely worth holding on to or selling to a collector. But even if it's not rare, saving Canadian pennies is a great way to preserve history, and who knows, it might be worth more in the future as fewer people hang on to them. The story of the 1996 Canada 1-cent coin is part of a much bigger chapter in the history of Canadian currency. The humble penny, also known as the 1-cent coin, was introduced in Canada way back in 1858, during a time when Canada was still a British colony. The earliest coins were struck in England and were made of bronze. As time passed and the country evolved into a modern nation, so did the penny. It became a symbol of everyday life in Canada, a coin used to buy candy, give change, and collect in jars across households. By the 1990s, the Royal Canadian Mint had already produced billions of 1-cent coins. In 1996, over 672 million pennies were minted. These coins featured the familiar maple leaf twig design by G.E. Kruger-Gray, which had been in use since 1937. The obverse bore the image of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Pedery-Hunt, the first Canadian artist to design the Queen's portrait for Canadian coinage. At the time, the penny still held its place in daily transactions. But inflation had significantly decreased its buying power, and the cost of producing a penny began to outweigh its value. This led to growing debates about the usefulness of the penny in Canada. While it wouldn't be discontinued until 2012, the seeds of its eventual retirement were already being planted in the mid-1990s. The 1996 penny represents a time when the coin was still widely used but slowly becoming more symbolic than practical. In fact, by the time the penny was officially withdrawn from circulation in February 2013, many Canadians had already stopped using it regularly. Businesses and banks began rounding cash transactions to the nearest 5 cents, and the copper-colored coin began to disappear from daily life. Today, the 1996 Canadian penny is a reminder of a currency that served its people for more than a century and a half. While it may not be rare, it holds nostalgic and historical value for collectors and Canadians alike. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Two coins from the same year can have totally different values based on their physical state. So, how does the condition of your 1996 Canadian penny affect its worth? Most 1996 pennies you find today are in circulated condition. These coins were used in everyday transactions, so they often show signs of wear, like scratches, dull surfaces, and faded details. The highest grade of condition is mint state, often assigned by professional grading services like ICCS, PCGS, or NGC grading scale ***. MS 60 means there are minor imperfections, while MS 70 means a flawless coin. MS 65 or higher ***. These are the most sought after by collectors. Value can range from $1 to $5 or even more depending on demand. And error types. Even coins in worn condition can be valuable if they have minting errors like off-center strikes ***, double dies ***, die cracks ***. Some of these can boost the value of even a circulated coin by $5 to $50 or more. So, before you toss your 1996 penny back in the jar, check the condition carefully. A clean, shiny coin could fetch more than you think. And if you're lucky enough to find one with an error, you might just have and today, you might be surprised. At first glance, the 1981 Canada 1-cent coin might seem like just another penny. But behind this small copper coin lies a story of Canadian identity, design artistry, and collector value. Let's break it down. The Canada 1-cent coin has been a part of the country's currency system since 1858. The 1981 version belongs to the Queen Elizabeth II era and features the famous maple leaf twig design on the reverse side, created by George Kruger Gray. On the obverse, that's the front of the coin, you'll see a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold McKim, which was used from 1965 to 1989. In 1981, the Royal Canadian Mint produced a massive number of these coins. Over 1.2 billion were struck. That makes it one of the more common issues of the time. But here's the twist. Not all 1981 pennies are created equal. Here's what makes some 1981 Canadian cents more collectible than others. Composition ***. These coins were made from 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc, giving it that classic reddish-brown hue. Weight ***. Each coin weighs 2.8 grams diameter, 19.05 millimeters. But what makes collectors really interested are varieties and coin condition. The condition of your 1981 penny plays a major role in its value. Let's break it down. Circulated coins ***. Most coins found in everyday change are worth face value, but uncirculated, mint state, coins ***. These can fetch higher prices. If your coin has no scratches, no wear, and a full red luster, you're in luck. Proof-like or specimen sets ***. Coins from collector sets with mirror-like finish and sharp details can be even more valuable. Let's talk money. As of now, a circulated 1981 penny is generally worth 1 to 5 cents. An uncirculated coin in mint state 60 to 63 might sell for $0.10 to $0.50 CAD. A high-grade MS 65 or higher could go for $1 to $3 CAD, or more if it's graded by a professional service like ICCS or PCGS. A proof-like coin from a Royal Mint set may be valued between $2 and $5, depending on its quality and buyer demand. Here are a few things to check when inspecting your 1981 penny. Look for die cracks or doubling under magnification. Errors can boost value. Check for full red luster. Copper coins tend to turn brown, so a bright red coin is more desirable. Store your coin in a cool, dry place, preferably in a 2x2 holder or a plastic capsule to prevent oxidation. So there you have it. the story, details, and value of the 1981 Canada 1-cent coin. While it might not make you rich overnight, it's a fun piece of history and a must-have for any serious Canadian coin collector. The Canada 1-cent coin, also known as the Canadian penny, has been a vital part of Canada's coinage since 1858. But the 1981 edition is particularly notable because it falls within a transitional time in Canadian coinage and holds a few key historical features. Let's go back to the early 1980s. By 1981, Canada was in a period of economic change. Inflation was rising, and the cost of minting low-denomination coins like the penny was becoming a concern for the Royal Canadian Mint. Despite this, the penny remained in full circulation, and over 1.2 billion pennies were produced in that year alone, one of the highest mintages in Canadian history. The obverse, front, of the coin features a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold McKim, which had been in use on Canadian coins since 1965. This portrait shows the Queen wearing a tiara and facing right, a style that represents the dignity and continuity of the monarchy in Canadian currency. On the reverse, back, of the coin is the iconic maple leaf twig design, a proud national symbol of Canada. This artwork was created by George Kruger Gray, a British artist who designed several Commonwealth coins. The maple leaf has long symbolized strength, peace, and nature in Canadian culture. The 1981 coin was struck in Ottawa and made from copper, 98%, with small amounts of zinc and tin. This gave the coin its deep reddish tone. At that time, pennies were still made using solid copper, making them heavier and more durable than the copper-plated zinc versions that came later in the 1990s. Although this coin was common in circulation, collectors today still seek out high-grade examples, especially mint state coins that were never used or circulated. Some people even collect them for their copper content, which became valuable as copper prices rose over the years. Eventually, due to the rising cost of production and reduced use in everyday transactions, the Canadian government announced the elimination of the penny in 2012. But coins like the 1981 edition remain a nostalgic reminder of Canada's economic past and its rich numismatic heritage. The condition of a coin, also called its grade, plays a huge role in determining its collector value. While the 1981 Canadian penny is common, high-grade coins are much harder to find and are worth more. Let's break down the common condition types and what they mean for your 1981 penny. Use coin holders or plastic capsules to avoid oxidation. Avoid handling with bare fingers. Oils from skin can damage copper. Store in a cool, dry place away from moisture. So, while most 1981 Canadian pennies are common, finding one in excellent or uncirculated condition can make a big difference in its value. If you have a shiny 1981 penny with no wear, you might just have a little treasure in your collection. If you've got one lying around, don't skip this video. You might be holding a tiny piece of Canadian history. Let's start with the history. The Canada 1-cent coin from 1973 was part of the iconic maple leaf penny series that featured a design unchanged since 1937. On the reverse side, we see the beloved twin maple leaves on a twig, designed by George Kruger Gray. But 1973 was also a special year in Canada. It marked the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. To celebrate this, a special commemorative 25-cent coin was issued, but the penny design remained standard that year. What makes the 1973 1-cent coin interesting isn't a design change, but a variety in the obverse design, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. Some of these coins have the older 1972 obverse design with small lettering, while others feature the newer 1973 obverse with larger lettering. This is what collectors refer to as a variety year, and these variations can affect value. Obverse, front, asterisk asterisk. It displays a right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold McKim. Reverse, back, asterisk asterisk. The iconic twin maple leaves, with 1 cent and Canada inscribed. Composition asterisk asterisk. Made of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc. Diameter asterisk asterisk. 19.05 millimeters. Weight asterisk asterisk. 3.24 grams. The key thing here, again, is whether your coin has the large or small bust. The small bust is scarcer and considered more collectible. When it comes to value, condition is king. Coins are graded on a scale from good to mint state, MS. If your 1973 Canada penny is heavily circulated with scratches and wear, it may only be worth 1 to 5 cents. In uncirculated condition, its value can rise to $1 to $3, depending on the market. If you own a mint state example, MS 65 or higher, especially with the small bust variety, then you might be looking at a coin worth $10 or more to the right collector. Make sure to handle your coin carefully and check for luster, no damage, and clear details on both sides. Here's where it gets exciting. The small bust variety is what coin hunters are after. It's believed that only a portion of the 1973 1-cent coins were struck with this older die, making them harder to find. As of now, collectors have been known to pay between $10 to $30 CAD for high-grade small bust varieties. Even in average condition, a small bust coin might fetch a few dollars, especially on auction sites like eBay or in collector groups. Pro tip: ***, use a magnifying glass or digital microscope to compare the bust and lettering. If it resembles the 1972 penny design, you may have the small bust variety. First, check the condition. Then examine the queen's bust style, large or small. If it's in great shape or has the small bust, consider getting it graded or selling to collectors online. And remember, while it may not make you a millionaire, it's still a rewarding and educational experience holding onto a tiny piece of numismatic history. Don't underestimate the humble penny. It could be worth more than just 1 cent. The 1973 Canadian 1-cent coin may seem like an ordinary penny at first glance, but it was minted during a fascinating time in Canadian numismatic history. While the design of the penny did not change in 1973, this year is remembered for a subtle but important obverse variety that makes the coin a point of interest among collectors. In 1973, Canada celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. While the commemorative design for this centennial appeared on the 25-cent quarter, the 1-cent coin retained the traditional maple leaf design introduced in 1937. However, the minting process in 1973 resulted in 2 versions of Queen Elizabeth II's portrait on the obverse front of the penny. The real numismatic significance of the 1973 penny lies in its 2 obverse varieties. Small bust, 1972 obverse ***. This variety features the smaller portrait of Queen Elizabeth II with finer, smaller lettering. It was accidentally used on some 1973 dated coins because the Royal Canadian Mint used leftover dies from the previous year. Large bust, 1973 obverse ***. This version, introduced officially in 1973, has a slightly larger portrait of the Queen with bolder, larger lettering around the edge. The small bust variety is rarer and sought after by collectors, which makes it more valuable, especially in high grades. The 1973 penny was minted in both Ottawa and Winnipeg. Over 457 million 1-cent coins were struck in total that year, but only a small portion of those featured the small bust. These were likely minted in Ottawa, where experimental and transitional varieties often originated. Since pennies were commonly used and often hoarded in Canada, many of these coins saw heavy circulation, meaning finding a high-grade small bust 1973 penny is a challenge and a treasure. When evaluating any coin, especially older ones like the 1973 Canadian 1-cent, condition is the most important factor in determining its value. Collectors and appraisers use a standard grading scale to assess a coin's condition, from heavily worn to mint state. Always hold your coin by the edges and avoid touching the face to prevent oils from your skin from damaging. Today, we're taking a closer look at a classic Canadian coin, the 1978 Canada 1-cent coin. Is it just pocket change, or a hidden treasure? Thinking face, let's dive into its history, design, circulation, condition grades, and of course, its true market value in 2025. Let's start with some background. The 1978 Canadian 1-cent coin belongs to the Maple Leaf series, one of the most iconic penny designs in Canadian numismatics. The coin was minted by the Royal Canadian Mint and is part of the era before Canada began phasing out the penny, which officially ended circulation in 2013. Now, back in 1978, nearly 854 million of these coins were minted. That's a massive number, which makes them common in circulated condition even today. But there's more to this little copper beauty than meets the eye. On the obverse, you'll see the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This was used from 1965 to 1989 and shows the Queen wearing a tiara. On the reverse, we see the famous maple leaf twig, 2 maple leaves attached to a single stem. This design was originally created by G.E. Kruger Gray and had been in use since the 1930s, made of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc. The coin weighs 3.24 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 mm. Its reddish-brown color comes from the high copper content, which also makes it more interesting to collectors. The value of any coin depends heavily on its condition or grade. Here's a quick breakdown. Circulated/worn condition ***. Very fine or lower, these coins show signs of wear, especially on the queen's hair and the maple leaves. Value, usually 1 to 5 cents, about uncirculated, AU, ***. These are coins that have light wear and retain some original luster. Value, around 10 to 25 cents, mint state, MS60 to MS65, ***. These coins are in pristine condition with no wear and strong luster. The value here can jump up to $1 to $5 CAD, depending on the grade and eye appeal. High-end red mint state coins, MS66 and above, ***. These are more rare and valuable. Coins with a full red surface and zero blemishes can fetch $10 to $25 CAD or more at auctions. So, how much is your 1978 Canadian penny worth today in 2025? If it's a typical circulated coin, which most are, it's worth around 1 to 3 cents. If it's in AU to low mint state, expect 10 to 50 cents. If you have a red mint state coin graded MS65 or higher, values can reach $5 to $25 CAD, especially if professionally graded. Rare error coins, like off-center strikes or die cracks, can go up to $50 or more, depending on the flaw and demand. Tip: if you think your coin is in amazing condition, consider having it graded by companies like ICCS, International Coin Certification Service, or PCGS. Why do people collect 1978 pennies? Well, 1978 was one of the final years where coins were made almost entirely from pure copper, which gives them melt value potential. Many coin hunters and even scrap metal collectors hold on to these for their copper content. Plus, they're a nostalgic piece of Canada's rich history, especially for collectors who grew up using these coins daily. So, the 1978 Canadian 1-cent coin may not make you rich overnight, but in the right condition or with a rare error, it can be a hidden gem worth looking at. The Canada 1-cent coin from 1978 is part of the country's long tradition of issuing copper pennies, which began in the 19th century. These small coins, often overlooked in daily life, actually carry a lot of history and cultural meaning. The first official Canadian 1-cent coin was issued in 1858, back when Canada was still under strong British influence. These early coins were much larger and made of bronze. Over time, the size, design, and metal composition of the penny changed. By 1920, the design was changed to feature a new image of the maple leaf twig, a symbol now widely recognized around the world as a representation of Canada. The 1978 1-cent coin features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, who had ascended the throne in 1952. The portrait used on the coin was created by Arnold Machin, showing a youthful queen wearing a tiara. This version of her image was used on Canadian coins from 1965 until 1989. The reverse side of the 1978 coin is where we find the most famous design, the maple leaf twig. This was designed by G.E. Kruger Gray, and it shows two maple leaves growing from a single stem. It became a national symbol of pride and was used consistently on Canadian pennies from 1937 all the way until the last penny was struck in 2012. 1978, the Royal Canadian Mint produced over 854 million 1-cent coins. That's an incredibly high number, which means the coin is still commonly found in circulation or in people's old coin jars. The coin was made of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc. This composition gave the penny its reddish tone and made it heavier than the later copper-plated zinc pennies introduced in the 1990s. This copper content makes the 1978 penny more valuable than many of the later Canadian pennies, especially when sold for scrap metal or melt value. Though the 1978 penny was just one of many issued during Canada's copper coinage years, it now holds a special place in Canadian numismatic history because it represents a transitional period. By the 1980s, the cost of producing pennies was increasing, and by 2012, Canada officially discontinued the 1-cent coin due to high production costs and declining usage. As a result, older pennies like the one from 1978 have become collector's items, not necessarily for their rarity, but for their nostalgic and historic value. The 1978 Canada 1-cent coin is a symbol of Canadian identity, featuring the maple leaf and Queen Elizabeth II. Minted in large numbers, it reflects a time when Canada still valued copper coins in everyday transactions. Today, it's a beloved collectible, especially in uncirculated or mint condition. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. The grade of your 1978 Canadian penny plays a huge role in determining its value. Even though this coin is common in circulation, its worth can rise significantly in better condition. Full red, RD, ***, full original red mint luster. These are the most valuable in high grades. If you believe your 1978 penny is in exceptional condition, consider getting it professionally graded by companies like Certified Coins are easier to sell and fetch higher prices at auctions or online marketplaces. The 1978 Canadian 1-cent coin is common in worn condition, but finding one in mint state or with a red luster can turn it into a valuable collector's piece. Today, we're taking a closer look at a small but fascinating piece of Canadian history, the 1982 Canada 1-cent coin. If you've ever found this coin in your change or collection and wondered, asterisk, is this worth anything? Asterisk, then you're in the right place. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video on rare and vintage coins. The Canadian 1-cent coin from 1982 is part of the long-running Maple Leaf penny series that began in 1937. This specific coin was minted during a time of transition in Canadian coinage. By 1982, the Royal Canadian Mint was producing pennies in two different metal compositions: bronze ** 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc ** copper-plated zinc **. These were experimental and less common in circulation in 1982 because of inflation and the rising cost of producing copper coins. The 1982 cent was one of the last few years where Canada used mostly copper-based coins, before transitioning to zinc in later years. One interesting thing about the 1982 Canada cent is its metal melt value **. Because many 1982 cents were still made of 95% copper, the melt value is actually higher than 1 cent. As of current copper prices, the copper in each coin can be worth 2 to 3 cents, but it's illegal to melt down Canadian currency for scrap metal value. While you can't profit by melting it, it's still neat to know your coin is worth more than its face value in raw material alone. Although the 1982 Canadian penny is common, errors and rare varieties do exist. Here are a few to look out for. Double die errors **. Look closely at the date or the lettering. If you see doubling, it could be worth $20 to $50 plus off-center strike **. Coins not properly centered during minting can range in value from $10 to over $100, depending on how dramatic the error is. High-grade red coins **. Uncirculated coins that retain their original red copper tone can fetch higher prices from collectors. Always check your coins under a magnifying glass. You might discover a hidden gem. Belso, what's the true value of a 1982 Canada 1-cent coin? In circulated condition, 1 to 5 cents. In uncirculated or mint state $1 to $5 **. Proof-like sets or errors **. Up to $20, $50, or more. It's not a retirement plan, but it's definitely a coin worth holding on to, especially if it's in great condition. The Canadian 1-cent coin, often called the penny, has been part of Canada's coinage since 1858. It was used for everyday purchases for over 150 years. By the 1980s, however, inflation had dramatically reduced the penny's buying power, and production costs were increasing, especially because the penny was still made mostly from copper, a valuable industrial metal. The year 1982 marked a transitional period for the Royal Canadian Mint. While the traditional bronze composition, mostly copper, was still being used, the Mint began experimenting with copper-plated zinc blanks this year. Though most coins struck in 1982 were still bronze, this change was driven by economic reasons. The rising cost of copper made the production of 1-cent coins more expensive than their face value. Canada began preparing to phase out copper-based coins in favor of cheaper, lighter alternatives. So in 1982, the Royal Canadian Mint quietly began testing new metal types. These early plated cents are very rare and sought after by collectors. On the obverse front of the coin is a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This design was introduced in 1965 and remained on the penny until 1989. The portrait shows a youthful queen wearing a tiara. The inscription reads, Elizabeth II d.G. Regina, which means Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This was a symbol of continuity in Canadian coinage, as Elizabeth II had been on the throne since 1952. On the reverse of the 1982 penny, you'll find the classic 2 maple leaves on a twig, designed by artist G.E. Kruger Gray in 1937. The maple leaf has long been a national symbol of Canada, even before it appeared on the flag. It represents strength, unity, and peace, values deeply associated with Canadian identity. This reverse design was used from 1937 all the way until the end of the penny's production in 2012, making it one of Canada's longest-running coin designs. Although copper pennies continued into the mid-1980s, 1982 was one of the last years when nearly all Canadian cents were still made of 95% copper. By 1983 and onward, the transition to copper-plated zinc became more permanent, making 1982 the final major year of traditional copper penny production. This makes 1982 a notable year for collectors, especially for those interested in the evolution of Canadian coinage materials. While the 1982 Canada 1-cent coin may not be extremely rare, it holds an important place in Canadian monetary history. It represents the end of an era, the last of the heavy copper cents, before pennies became lighter, cheaper, and eventually discontinued in 2012. Today, these coins are appreciated not just for their value, but for their symbolic connection to Canada's economic and cultural journey. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. A coin's appearance, how well it has been preserved over time, can greatly increase or decrease its market value. Collectors use a standard grading scale, from well-worn coins to perfectly preserved mint specimens, to assess the condition of coins like the 1982 Canadian penny. The condition of your 1982 Canadian penny plays a huge role in its value. A worn coin might only be worth face value, but an uncirculated, red example could sell for several dollars. So next time you look at a 1982 penny, don't just glance at the date. Check the color, shine, and sharpness. You might be holding a hidden treasure.